Right, let's get this show on the road. I already know what's grinding everybody's gears today. It's all anybody's talking about. Let's have at it. UK Tribunal allows 18 Gaza relatives to join family in Britain. Activist judge Gemma Loughran upheld a lower court's April 2025 decision ruling that refusing entry to the sponsor's parents, siblings, children, friends, neighbours, fellow hobbyists, and anybody else who's brushed past them on the Gaza Strip is fully entitled to enter the UK, because if not, it'd cause unjustifiably harsh consequences under Article 8 of the European Convention of Human Rights. It's unbelievable, but it's par for the course, isn't it? Are there any judges in the UK that aren't hand-wringing, self-loathing left-wing activists after Tony Blair's little, well, that's not the right word, large march through the institutions? No. So now you're going to be swimming in Gazans, aren't you? Have you ever met a family with as many kids as your average Gazan mother? Have you? These people multiply like wet gremlins. I'm middle-aged and I've only ever lived next to one family, a load of chavs in Borough, who had as many kids as your average Gazan. And needless to say, we moved because the kids patted our dog to death. Right, I apologise for the Bernard Manning joke there. I'm sure everybody's heard that one. I got the full lowdown on this story off GB News because the BBC don't want to talk about it. Funny old thing. Just go try it for yourself. Go on Google and type in family of 18 from Palestine. Nothing will come up from the BBC. They don't want to talk about this stuff. Thankfully, GB News, now the only news account that I actually give any money to. The Telegraph have gone in the bin. The Daily failed. There is no right-wing or centrist media in the UK anymore. There's just left-wing activists. Even The Economist is woke. You would think people who profess to know about, economics, doing the sums, basic mathematics, would all be dyed-in-the-wool capitalists. But no, apparently, in modern Britain, formally respected institutions like The Economist, it had a global reputation. I used to subscribe to The Economist when I lived in York. That was only about 15 years ago. Now, it's like AOC is the editor of that once proud publication. And The Spectator's bad as well. As we all know, that fat, slimy, self-serving little toad, Andrew Neil, he's about as conservative as Owen Jones is. And I understand the bitterness and resentment. I do get it with him, because if I'd looked like Baron Greenback since I was 30, I'd be a little bit pissed off as well. But enough ranting, let's read the story. Come on, I've kept you on tenterhooks long enough. Let's find out exactly how many of these gremlins we're letting in. This week, because there's going to be about 40 times this number turns up as soon as the word gets about, isn't it? When they realise that every single judge in the UK is an out communist who won't be happy until people with ginger hair and blue eyes have completely disappeared from planet Earth, they'll all be in. They'll all be in. You will be conker deep in pot-bellied goat herders and shoe bombers faster than you can say the average Palestinian surname, although that might take a while. A Palestinian family from Gaza has won a human rights challenge to claim refuge in Britain. The mother of three, who was born in Gaza, was originally refused permission to bring her gigantic extended family into the country on account of the fact Jesus feeding the 5,000 would be the only man who can possibly keep this lot in bread and fish. Waitrose is going to run out if we keep letting these Gazans in. And there's the rub, that sentence there. Both parents, a brother, his wife, their 4 children, a sister, her 4 children, another sister, her husband, and 3 children won a legal challenge on human rights grounds. It's unbelievable. We've just let in the Pakistani Waltons. I don't know if up my way, whenever someone had loads of kids, that's what you'd say. More kids than the Waltons. We've just let in Viagra Waltons, Octomom, turbocharged ovaries, vodka Red Bull jizz Waltons. They're all moving in. They're all moving in. Because the left-wing activists run the show, and it doesn't matter what you think about it. It doesn't matter that the entirety of the British public have been anti-immigration for 40 years. Doesn't matter. Because Tony's boys are in charge now, and they can do as they please. Home Secretary Shabzy Maka had attempted to have the decision squashed, but this was rejected. Right, so let's just have it said. Shabzy Maka is also an extremist, a fanatic. She doesn't want to stop it, but she's playing a political game, so the moronic normies will go, oh, well, the Home Secretary tried to stop it, but, rules are rules. The Home Secretary's got more power than the Prime Minister. She could stop it with a blink of an eye. So I think she deserves a bat, doesn't she? Yeah. Arnold, take this one for me.
Some of it was fun.
Have it. You deserve that, Chabsy. You deserve that, love. I'm sorry. Rules are rules. The family's original application took place in November 2023, which killed, yeah, we know all that. A human rights appeal was made and won in the lower courts. However, Mahmoud put it in appeal. Political theatre. Political theatre. You don't need to appeal it. You're the Home Secretary. You can do as you please. If it's not political theatre, think of this rationally. If it's not political theatre for normies, why is it that on a whim, Shabana bans whoever she pleases? Whoever she pleases. You may recall she just strips people of the citizenship arbitrarily. But only if they look like me. You do remember that story, don't you? Former policeman, Mark Bullen, who had his British passport revoked, even though he is ethnically English, from 10 generations of ethnically English. He looks like that, and he's called Mark Bullen, and he's a former copper. But because he got a job working, a very middle-class job, that, isn't it? Working in sports commentary. Well, that's enough for Shabzy. That's a ethnic Englishman, Mark Bullen. And whick, you're not a citizen anymore. In fact, if she sees this video and she sees that I've got a fatty on when Arnold's breaking the jaw, she'll probably do it to me. It'll be born and raised, 50 generations of British citizen, went to Afghanistan, went to Iraq, 5 tours, no criminal record, Green Beret, whick, passport's gone. I can't appeal it. You haven't heard Mark Bullen going through the courts, have you? Because there is no appeal when the party decides there isn't. Okay? So if you live under a rock and you weren't aware of that, if you look like that and your name's Mark Bullen, the state will stomp on your windpipe, nary a question asked, no appeals, see you later. He's done. And if she decides on a whim that someone like me doesn't know his place, well, then I'll be done as well. So this whole story, again, is a political farce for stupid people. So they'll go, no, Shabzy's not an extremist. She tried her very best to stop them from coming into the country, but she just couldn't. Rules are rules, let them all in. Yeah, back it up. 8,000 Palestinians out the back of a lorry. Yeah, cheers then. You have to be as thick as dehydrated whale spunk to even believe any of this farcical shit. She's the Home Secretary. She can do as she likes. And if you think otherwise, you're almost as thick as the people that subscribe to The Guardian. Sorry, I got distracted a bit there. Rage boner kicked in. Miss Mahmoud put in an appeal, but upper tribunal judge Gemma Loughran threw out the Home Secretary's case. Yeah, some random twat called Gemma can throw out the Home Secretary's case. Of course she can, yeah. Easy. Saying that the family has the permission to come to the UK because it'll breach Labour's Human Rights Act. And the family have a right to a family life in any country on earth. You know what I mean? Think of that. It only works if you're an extremist militant from the Gaza Strip. It's rock hard to move to America or Canada or Australia or New Zealand. If you're a God-fearing Englishman with no criminal record, it's almost impossible. You don't have a right to life. If you've had enough of living in Bradalabad in Yorkshire, so you want to move to Auckland, it's impossible. It's almost impossible. The amount of people who send me messages, Bootneck, I'm desperate to go to America because it is going to be the last bastion of freedom in the Western world. We're all going to collapse under the weight of socialism eventually. Slippery Soros and Klaus will not be denied, but we'll be the last holdout. And you can't do it. The only way you can get to another country in this day and age is if, like me, you can somehow convince one of the locals to drop a kex for you. That's the only way you can get it. But if you're a militant from a third world country, in you come, boys and girls. In you come. Which is exactly what I've been telling you lot since I started doing this. Obviously, it's all part of the plan, isn't it? Because if it was about common sense, logic, criminality, economics, it'd be really easy for a 23-year-old woman from Leeds with a college degree and no criminal record to move to Chicago or Toronto or Sydney. But it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. But I mean, think about it. It's even the same in the States. Like I said, if you're a militant, bong-eyed, light bulb-headed, monster-toothed inbred from Somalia, how many have they just lent it to Minnesota in the last 10 years? About 10 million of them. The system's doing what it was designed to do. Destabilise the West. Painfully obvious. If any one of you watching can give me a good argument why it was almost impossible for my missus to get an extension on a visa to stay in the UK, a well-educated, Anglosphere young woman with no criminal record, but why, for some reason, we absolutely have to let 237 Palestinians in. Please type it down below. Because I've argued with everyone I've argued with lefties, centrists, I've argued with professors, I've argued with historians, I'll argue with anyone because I'm a chippy northern prick, and I've never heard a single one of them tell me a good argument for why educated Westerners should be so heavily vetted and refused access to other Western nations, especially in the Anglosphere. But we seem to have all these rules that tie us up, which demand that third worlders who occasionally explode, right, have a right to family life wherever they want to rock up. Wherever they want to rock up. They can just do it. So it's a farce. You know it, I know it, but that's the world we live in. We've already lost. Yeah, there's Bradford. Is that Bradford? I mean, you can't tell these days. Bradford, Gaza, flip a coin. I mean, it doesn't really matter, does it? Indistinguishable. The judge said the British-based daughter and her 3 children had suffered mental health problems. Yeah, mental health problems, which is why there's 11 million people on the dole in the UK. 11 million healthy young people are on the dole, and they should all be working, but they just go, oh yeah, but mental health. And the left-wing judges go, fair enough, Dave. There's Dave carrying bricks. Dave, what's that? Yeah, there's another 400,000 people who need you to keep paying taxes, so you best do a 12-hour shift on Sunday. Yeah, shut up and carry the bricks, Dave. Akbar Jabari needs to be on benefits for another 27 years. You know what? I think we need to wage economic holy war. I think it's probably the only way to win. Every single person you know, move into one council house, quit your jobs, and live like they do. Just refuse to pay a single penny in taxes or national insurance ever again. I think it's the only way we can compete at this point. And then let's sum up with this amazing quote from the judge, Judge Loughran. The judge concluded that the applicant's refusal of entry clearance would give rise to consequences of such gravity for the sponsor and her children as to be unjustifiably harsh, such that the public interest was outweighed. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So there you have it. The public interest in outweigh is outweighed. The public went, yeah, but some of these people explode. Yeah, hang on. Some of these people have hissing backpacks and shoes full of C4, and they fill the pockets with rat poison and ball bearings, and they run into pop concerts or pubs or shopping centres or little girls' schools, and then they scatter themselves and everybody else in the immediate vicinity up across the walls and the ceilings, and then the janitor, of which there's only a few of them because everyone else is on the dole, they're there scrubbing away for the next week. It's a little bit of an inconvenience. You know, I mean, you can ignore the human lives totally because the government does, but it's just an inconvenience for the janitor. What about his human rights, eh? No, well, you don't have human rights if you're English and you're a janitor, so unlucky. So the public interest is completely outweighed because a family of unvetted high-risk migrants from the biggest shithole on planet Earth, right, they are a little bit upset that they can't bring their entire extended family over. So of course the public interest's outweighed. Of course it is. We've only had Southport and the Manchester bombing and little innocent children's faces beamed into our television screens in all of our living rooms who got dragged kicking and screaming out of life before they'd even had a chance to live. And all of that is outweighed because an activist judge thinks foreigners' fees are more important than dead kids. Makes loads of sense, doesn't it? Makes loads of sense. I mean, I've got nothing else to say other than rage boner. I punched another 6 holes in my desk this video. This is why I need subscribers. Yeah, I need to pay for furniture. That is a travesty of justice, but there is no justice. The only justice you get is the justice you take. You know this, I know this. We've already lost. All you can do now is cackle maniacally as we circle the drain. But that's just what I think. If you disagree, because you're a raving lunatic, please put your drivel in the comments and I'll respond in kind. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Let me know what you think. If you're sane as well, you know, everyone's free to have a pop. And I'll talk to you all tomorrow. All right. Toodle pip. Cheers.